Decisions of my life recently. I resigned my job, a job that was my dream job. Like, I was a student at this institution, and then immediately after teaching practice, I started working there. I had the time of my life. I had so much fun. Some of you remember the videos. Some of you remember the fun times we've had in class. I gave my all to this profession. I gave my all to students. There are some things that I could have done differently, and I'm adding that because this video might go into circulation and somebody said, but she never do that, she never do that, she never do that. So there are some things that I could have done better. There are some things that I could have done more of. But the fact of the matter is I did a lot of things, and I was it came to a point where I had nothing more. I had nothing more, no service, no more service, no more. My passion was depleted. I was having panic attacks. I was having difficulty sleeping. I was overwhelmed, and it was just time to go. I had nothing more to give.
All right, teacher burnout. Let's talk about it. I never really understood teacher burnout until this year. And honestly, I'm really going through it. So I just thought to jump on and actually share my thoughts, because I feel like I've been so positive on my TikTok about teaching and just, feeling good and getting really, just feeling really good about the job in general. And I feel like now this year, I've really understood the flip side of things. And I don't know, it's just really taken me a while to actually digest everything that I'm feeling. It's really interesting how teaching can affect your life, even in a personal way, when you're feeling like this. And if I can just provide some context without going too deep into it, it is so important to have a good support system at your school, especially when you're dealing with like tough kids. Not a lot of tough kids, but some. And when you don't have that support, or you're just not feeling the vibe is right, it can really throw you off. And I think I'm feeling that for the first time in my whole teaching career.
One of the many reasons why teachers quit is because of burnout. By the end of the day, you don't have time to do anything but sleep. As a teacher, once again, I can confirm the exhaustion that comes from teaching, guys, is absolutely, it can be a lot. If teachers were properly compensated, I think we would be having another discussion from a different point of view. But sacrificing yourself, your relationship with your friends and family, because you have a lot of grading to do and you need to rest, it's a vicious cycle.
In the schools every single day are given 2 minutes. It is disrespectful.
This woman sums up so much as to why I quit. I don't resign. I quit. That one was a quit. That one was, I cannot do this anymore. Now, when we look into the reasons as to why teachers quit, especially the young ones, it's us, or we go to different parts of the world to go teach. This is the one. It is blaming children for what is for our reasons is not even half. It's probably 10% of the pie chart. The things that go on, policies that put you in a place whereby you are stuck between a rock and a hard place. You would be told that, okay, for foundation phase, we want 100% pass rate. How? No, tell me, how am I supposed to send this child who can still not write their name, still not be able to write their name, to grade 2? Because I was a grade 1 teacher. How am I supposed to send that child to grade 2? I have fought, and anybody who knows me, anybody who I've worked with, they know I fight for my kids. I fought for them to no avail. Now you are stuck in high school. Now you are looking at these kids drop out. You're looking at these kids doing 1, 2, and 3. Stakeholders, you are failing us and you have failed us. It is what it is. You are currently still failing and you have failed. And that is the saddest part ever. So whenever you ask me, oh, hi Lerato, I saw you don't teach anymore. What is the reason? My reason is the department.
This is 100% happening in our public school system right now, and it's one of the main reasons why I quit. This is in response to a video that I posted yesterday of a Dr. Phil episode of teachers and how they are leaving in drones. The teacher shortage is real, and that the generations that are coming up are absolutely coddled and entitled and spoiled. In our school district, it was reiterated over and over and over again by both our principal and our superintendent that we were not allowed to give zeros in the grade book. The thought was that a 0 is just too hard to come back from, and if you put a 0 in the grade book and it drops their score so low, even if they get 100% on everything else for the rest of the year, they're never going to be able to bring their grade up. So even if a student did not do the work at all, they still get a 50% in the grade book. But here's where it gets really crazy, is that sometimes you would have a student actually do the work and turn it in and genuinely get a 50% on it because it was just 50% correct. Like half of it was wrong. So they genuinely got a 50%. They get a 50% in the grade book for work that they actually did and that they earned that 50%. But students who didn't do the work at all get that same 50%. What is this teaching our kids who are actually doing the work? And as a teacher, this was so infuriating. Oh, and another thing was that we were no longer allowed to grade homework. It was said that homework, it was too subjective upon like what the home life was like, and like more privileged students get their homework done and get hundreds in the grade book, where students that don't have the support at home would get zeros, and so we couldn't grade homework anymore either. Again, it's like, what are we teaching the kids who are actually doing the homework and turning it in, and they're not even getting a grade for it?
You burn out because you don't let yourself rest, but you're always in bed. He was like, you're always not doing anything because you're so tired, but you're not actually letting yourself enjoy doing nothing because you're so stressed about the fact that you're behind and you're not doing anything. That all that time that you take in bed relaxing stops being relaxing, and actually the more of that kind of time you take, the more stressed you become. So actually what you'd find more relaxing is doing your fucking work, but you can't because you're burning yourself out, and all this like time off is no longer time off.
As a former teacher and now parent, I think I finally understand why schools are falling apart, and then why inevitably we're having a mental health epidemic as well. Now, I've only been a parent for 4 months, but just in these 4 months, I can establish that being a parent is hard. I knew that this would be the case. It's the hardest thing that I'm ever going through. And I fully and completely understand why parents want to just give their kid an iPad, because that's easy. I get it. You had a tough day at work. You want to decompress. You want to be on your phone. It's easier to just give them the phone. I get it. They eventually throw tantrums and you're like, I don't want to deal with the tantrum anymore. Here's the phone. And that's the start of the entitlement. Entitlement is a lack of gratitude. In fact, entitlement is being completely ungrateful. And when kids are raised that their phone is theirs and no one else's, and you can't take it away, and you can't limit it, and you can't do this and that because it's theirs and that's their thing, then that becomes a mentality with everything. They don't like being told what to do, and they don't give a crap about, there's no authority. Like, who are you? You don't get to tell me what to do. You're a teacher. You don't get to tell me what to do. You're an adult. I don't care. This is my phone. I get to have it. You don't get to tell me what to do. And then these are the kids that then get into society and then go to a job and they're like, you need to do this. Like, I don't want to do that. Hell, I don't want to do that. I want to do what I want to do because that's how it's been my whole life. And then they struggle to get a job. And then they also struggle with friends because they're so selfish and entitled to themselves that then depression hits and they don't love themselves. Anyone who has substantial negative thoughts does not love themselves because the voices in their head tells them why they're not good enough. And that's where social media comes into play, because all they do is compare to everyone's best and just compare themselves. and they're worried about what they look like, and they're worried about what they sound like, and they're worried about changing their words to say it in a certain way so that they don't offend somebody. And then the school system treats every single child as if they are a victim. So anything that they do that is wrong or even hurts other people, there's no consequences because it's always, oh, well, who knows what they have going on at home.
Okay, teachers, I just had a major epiphany that I feel like explains, at least partially, why we as teachers so often struggle with burnout, struggle with perfectionism, struggle with being highly self-critical. And I think it all comes down to this. Now, I've been to therapy for anxiety, and one of the main things we talk about is prioritizing our worries. So worry about the things in your control. Something I have to let go of is the things out of my control. One of which would be other people's behaviors and actions. That is something that gets categorized as out of my control. However, what I would often bring up is that it is expected to me to be in control of other people's behavior. That is literally my job as a teacher. I am directly being evaluated based on my ability to control other people's behavior all day long. How would I know or be validated as being a good teacher if it wasn't for my students' output, the way that they're behaving, the work that they're completing, the way that they perform on tests? That is a lot of pressure to be under all the time, and it is a very high expectation that I think is just completely impossible to achieve. And yet, what do we do when every day we are being tasked with controlling other people's behavior? I think this is why a lot of teachers struggle with anxiety and burnout and perfectionism, because that is an impossible task and we have to do it every single day. And even if it doesn't come directly from a superior or admin, we put this pressure on ourselves and we feel teacher guilt for when things happen. Let me give you an example. If a student got bullied in my class and I didn't notice it, I feel like that's my problem, that's my responsibility. I messed up, I'm lacking as a teacher because I didn't notice another kid's actions of them deciding to be mean and say something mean to another student. But little things like this happen all day long, multiple times a day, every day when you're at work.
The stress that comes from teaching is like no other. And I know that a lot of professions are also stressful, but I'm just speaking from a teacher's point of view. So most people are under the assumption that teaching is easy peasy, lemon squeezy. You just stand in front of the class and then it's done. Have you ever tried teaching, Monday to Friday? If you're not a teacher, have you ever tried it and do all the paperwork and be assessed and then told what you are doing is not enough? I don't blame these teachers for quitting, and I will see you in the next one.